Thank you so much for joining us today on the Mostly True podcast, presented by New Spark Entertainment. Mostly True is the podcast where we teach you about music history the way we wish we'd been taught. We are also big musical theater folk, so we like to talk about like how Western music has influenced our own art form. And today we are talking about none other than Claudio Monteverdi and why he's the moment. He is mother. He is a star.
He is mother. Can't wait.
Welcome to Mostly True. It's like a podcast.
So for those of you who don't know, Laney also has been very scripted. And she was very excited to say all of her lines today.
I'm so excited. I mean, good to be here. That's my line. I'll try and stay on script as much as possible.
Damn it, Laney. I told you to stay on book.
Mitch doesn't trust me.
Yeah, so for those of you that think this is really off the cuff, you're wrong. Laney has been given her lines, and right there she was not able to say them.
I'm so sorry. I'll do better.
Okay. But anyway, I hope you're excited because we're talking someone that I would argue is the mother of musical theater.
Oh, that's a pretty hefty statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Monteverdi is like the first like person to kind of be given like really a lot of credit for being the opera guy, the one who made opera.
Last episode, we talked about the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. A bit of a longer episode, but we talked about a number of influential figures and what they gave music.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about like the introduction of music notation, and that was getting super specific.
That's right. The Guidonian hand.
There we go. Exactly. What else did we talk about, Laney?
We also talked about some of the secular music and specifically the early magicals that were putting English text to music.
Oh, okay. So already I've noticed my spelling isn't great. So it does say magicals. It was supposed to say madrigals.
Madrigal. I had a feeling. I was just going with it. I love
he
a
was
little
like,
whimsy
yeah,
here
they
and
wrote
there.
some. They really were magical. They were very magical.
The magicals. Music is magical, so
it really is magical.
It applies.
So Renaissance, Middle Ages, we're seeing like multi voices and writing in multiple parts. The Middle Ages, if we're like going all the way back, we have like a lot of these chants that are coming out of like the old churches that are just like, so boring. It's just like one line of text and maybe like someone singing like a tone, just to keep us in tune or whatever. So I think something that is super applicable and important is that we're kind of setting up our next composer to take on polyphony. And then they're going to really take polyphony to a whole nother level that like we haven't seen as much previously in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance.
So remind me again what polyphony is and why that's important.
So here it is. You actually asked me before the podcast, we were talking about homophony. Yeah. But so polyphony, monophony, and homophony. Monophony, homophony. Okay. But anyway, so one of the books that I have been using right now, it's been really helpful. It's called The Vintage Guide to Classical Music. And the author kind of defines it as the combination of two or more spontaneous melodic lines. So that's kind of how we're going to define polyphony, and the Renaissance is really kind of amping that up a lot. And our composer that we're talking about today, our big guy, Mr. Monteverdi, is really doing a lot with that. So
two opposing melody lines, not harmonies together. right?
So
Okay.
like in the context, like harmony is more of like a byproduct of writing multiple melodic lines rather than something that they're actually like structuring their music off of. Like when you think of in like theory class, when you have all of the Roman numerals and you know how you learn like this chord goes to this chord and this chord goes to this chord, that is not necessarily how they're thinking yet. They're not necessarily thinking about like progressions in terms of chords. They're more just thinking about the melodies. And they're even using like slightly different scales. So they're using church modes rather than like, you know, the scales that we typically think about now. So a few differences in like how the composers are writing. Let's go to Claudio. Do you want to talk about Claudio?
So, yeah, I'd love to talk about Claudio Monteverdi.
Monteverdi. So our
this
goal
leads
is
us
like,
to,
yeah, tell us.
well, this leads us to our important figure for this episode, Claudio Monteverdi, who was an Italian composer born in 1567 and died in 1643. So it's pretty widely agreed upon that the Baroque time period starts in 1600. And it's kind of interesting because Monteverdi lives right in the cusp of the Renaissance and the Baroque period. He's a cusper.
Yeah, he
Just
is a
like
cusper,
me,
and see,
actually,
just like I'm a cusper.
I'm exactly a cusper because 1997.
Okay, you might be a little bit more of a cusper, but I was born in '99, so I feel very much a cusper as well.
I feel like you're Gen Z. Like,
I don't feel like I'm Gen Z. I feel like for me, I feel like the line where Gen Z begins and like millennial ends. Is it millennial or is it Gen X? Is that millennial? That's millennial.
Yeah, millennial and then Gen Z.
But like I feel like it's because like the thing that so much I feel defines Gen Z is like the rise of technology. I'm like, if you don't remember a landline, you're Gen Z. But like we had a landline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And like I had a landline for a long enough time. Like we had a home phone number. Like kids will never understand what even is a home phone number.
885. That was my home phone
Wow,
number.
you really just gave it away. I don't think my parents still have one.
Think anyone.
They might, honestly.
Would
they
answer
might.
now.
My parents would have a landline still.
And I had my best friend's phone number memorized, Elise.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 443-0781 or something. Okay.
Yeah, and you'd have to call your friend's home phone number and ask for them. Like kids don't like. I don't feel like Gen Z thinks about that as much anymore. They're like, they know who's gonna answer the phone. Like we had to play like it was kind of like it was like there was a bit of a gamble. There was a little bit of like that roulette game where you're like, who's gonna answer it? Is it gonna be their like sibling that hates me? You know, it's like
the dad. That was always like more awkward for me. I feel like if it was the dad.
If it was the dad, you're like, hi, Mr.
Herrera.
That's
my best friend's dad's last name.
So
can I please talk to Elise?
So that's what I'm saying. I feel like I relate to the cuspers. Technically, I may not be one.
Yeah, I feel like if you watched That's So Raven, you're a cusper.
We didn't have Disney Channel, so it's not a super usable.
It's not relevant.
It's not very relevant. So despite yeah. Okay, but anywho, he's a cusper.
Anywho, Claudio is a cusper.
Claudio. Yes, so he's a cusper, and so he still had some strong influences kind of from the Renaissance, and the instruments at this time are a little bit different too. I think this is something worth talking about a little bit. You know, we talked a little bit about Middle Ages and Renaissance, and as we're kind of coming out of that into the Baroque, before we get into like deep in the classical, a lot of the instruments even that they're using in this time are like pretty different. Like the technology that they have is different. So like if we're talking about the piece that we'll talk a little bit about today, L'Orfeo, the strings, if we're talking about the strings that are in this piece, there's just some different instruments. Like one of them is called the viola the gombo. And
What's the
yeah.
difference between that and a normal viola?
It's bigger. It's played a little bit more like a cello. Yeah. So then there's a few other instruments like the theorbo, which is kind of like a lute or guitar. The sackbuts, which I think are maybe my favorite instrument name. Just because it's fun to
Sackbuts?
say. Sackbuts. Yeah.
Sackbuts.
Yeah. It's
How would you say
S-A-C
that? Do you
it's
really say
S-A-
sackbuts?
I don't know. It's sackbuts. I think in Italian that's sackbuts.
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 No, that sounded
Yeah.
Russian. I don't think that is right.
Sackbuts. Sackbuts.
Interesting.
But anyway, those are like kind of a precursor to a trombone. And then a few other instruments that aren't really common in music today. So I think that's also something that, like, as you're listening to it, you're like, this sounds a little different. Well, part of it is because they're just using different instruments even. So, and like something we'll talk about later, I think when we get to some of the other like composers that are dealing with like more reliable instruments, they start writing more music for instrumentals, like solo instruments or like concertos. Like Vivaldi was big in concertos, and like part of the reason that he was able to do that was because like the technology of the instruments was actually getting better, so they would stay in tune for longer periods of time, and like there was less like trying to rely on like human voices to help like aid the music. So
That's
think
so
that's also
interesting. I
something that's
wouldn't have
interesting.
thought of how if you're doing a really long piece, you need the instruments to stay in tune for a long time. And like maybe they wouldn't have been able to do that back then.
Yeah, so I
don't
think
know.
yeah,
Never
like
considered
between
that.
the materials and everything, I think it's just like the strings, and they weren't using like steel strings like we do on a lot of instruments today for a long time. But they didn't necessarily have like a ton of luthiers or like artisans in the craft of making instruments yet, because they were still
Right.
like coming out of the Middle Ages and Renaissance, and so like they had what they had. So
Right.
um
The lute and whatnot.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, so our boy Claudio, born in this tiny little town called Cremona. It's in northern Italy, and usually composers come from musical families. This man had no music background, so I guess as a little kid someone was like, wow, he's got rhythm. So then he gets like picked up by a director of music at Cremona Cathedral, which is his hometown cathedral. And when he's 24, he works for a Duke Vincenzo Gonzaga of
Hey,
Mantua.
go Zags.
Go
Ns, ns.
Zags. Um,
Duke Vincenzo Gonzaga. Nice.
Vincenzo? Is it Vincenzo? Vincenzo? It's not a Chen.
Vincenzo.
It's not a Vincent, is it? I can't remember. I didn't pay enough attention during Italian diction.
Am I gonna get canceled for making fun of Italians?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot that we could probably eventually get canceled for.
We're nerds. We sound like big nerds right now.
We really do. I think that's one thing that this podcast is just gonna really reinforce, is just that like, oh, Mitch is a massive nerd.
Massive nerd.
Massive nerd. And that's all. I think that's all anyone's ever gonna get from this. They're just gonna be like, they're gonna listen to 5 minutes and they're gonna be like, nerd, and turn it off.
They're gonna be like, that's
nah.
the coolest nerd I've ever heard of.
Yeah, not
Mitch
that,
Beard.
but Mitch Beard, everybody. Big nerd. But where are we? We're talking about Monteverdi.
Well, I'm noticing on the Google Doc, something that's
Mhm.
crazy about composers who worked for kings and dukes and things like that is they would go with them to battles. That's crazy.
Like, that's crazy. Yes. I read about this. Like, Monteverdi went on this military expedition against the Turks in 1595. I was just like, yo, Claudio, why don't you come with us and do the music thing?
So he didn't fight. He was just there to like
I can't imagine
play
he was
some
doing
tunes.
any sort of fighting. It's just like maybe we need a little boombox on the battlefield. Hey, Claudio.
I know. I'm like, I'm imagining him playing like the entrance music.
He's just like,
As they
it's
walk
just
up.
like, you know, like some Lord of the Rings. He's just like playing the, like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
trying to come up with like a soundtrack for the battle. Like,
I have
oh,
Avengers
you know,
in my head right now.
yeah, no, I
Wait,
cannot.
I'm liking these lines. I'm liking the
Which
lines
ones?
you gave us.
Okay,
here.
what's the lines did you give us?
Yeah, it's like, let me grab my viol. I'm sure that'll make a great weapon. I'm sure it wasn't like that. I'll stab out a couple guys' eyes. Or better yet, let me sing you a little aria.
Isn't that
I love this.
my writing is
sorry.
just so on point.
I'm doing a terrible job staying on script.
I think the yeah. Do you need some line readings? I think you might need some help. Let me
I need
tell
line
you
reading.
how.
I think I need the stage manager standing by to yell out.
I think
the
we
line
needed
readings.
clearer stage directions so that you knew.
Yeah. Cross line.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the Duke and him, they seem to get along well. You want to know one of my favorite rumors though?
Yes.
Okay, so Monteverdi's wife. What? You're saying
Nothing.
uh-oh.
I'm just-
Okay.
Just like, uh-oh, T.
Oh, we got T. So her name was Claudia, which was really confusing because we had Claudio and Claudia. Yeah, I know. It's cute. So apparently she was one of the Duke's mistresses. And then at some point he was like, I'm over it. Hey, Claudio, do you want her?
So he
was
gave
just like-
him, or he gave her.
Apparently, like the books were trying to be like, well, he was actually like trying to be like a good guy because he was like, I want to try and set her up with someone like, you know, that I know is a good guy. But it was very much just like he just like got bored of her as like, you
He's
know,
like, Claudia, you've been playing pretty good lately. I have a little surprise for you. It's a wife.
you get my sloppy seconds.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like
Poor
imagine her just being like, oh great, I guess thanks.
She's like, cool.
Or do you think
no,
do you think
it's
she actually
fine.
or do you think she was like actually like, hey, you should give me to Claudio. Like he seems pretty cool.
I'd like to believe.
I'd like to think it was that.
I'd like to believe she was getting bored of the Duke, saw
Mhm.
Claudio at an event, was like, who dat? And then
Yeah.
the Duke, I don't know, maybe Claudio took her from the Duke and the Duke was like, whatever, I didn't even want her anyway. And
Maybe
then
it
they were
was
just
that.
happy together, you know?
I really like speculating. I think that's like the best way to look at history. It's
very
just
important.
it's just everything is speculation, you know?
That's how I live my life, actually. Just jumping.
Just
as
I
many
love,
conclusions
I love just
as
living
possible.
in what if, you know, what if.
What if? Yeah. Assumptions left and right.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, so that's a fun little backstory about you know, Claudia and Claudio.
Yeah.
So if we're talking, yeah, you go. What are you saying?
So I was just gonna say, so I see you wrote about his dissonance in his music. Do you want to explain that a little bit? Dissonance versus consonance.
So dissonance versus consonance. We're talking about music. Intervals can be broken down into one of two. These are the two categories, consonance and dissonance. The consensus being that consonance is pleasant, relaxing, beautiful, good, while dissonance evokes more ugly, kind of like pointed sounds.
That was great.
Yeah.
My line is so helpful.
Thank you for that beautiful line reading, Laney. So we talked about last time how like the church really cracked down on making music that was, you know, holy. And part of this crackdown meant that there was like a lot of tradition around the time of Monteverdi where like consonance was like pleasing and good and godly. And dissonance was like, let's not do that. So
Sure. Of the devil. Evil, if
of
you will.
evil, just anything,
Pure, unadulterated evil.
just evil. So it's been like 50 years since the Council of Trent by the time Monteverdi is composing, which is you know, that's essentially when the church is like, music is evil, instruments are evil, take them away.
Sure.
And yeah, so because we know the church played a huge role in shaping the landscape of the time.
When you say the church, is this like the Roman Catholic Church?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So this is, yeah, they're kind of the political powerhouse of the time. Especially, we're in Italy. Like, we're like, the Pope is right there. Like, so,
Sure.
uh,
He's
so
right
he's right there. He's right
in
there.
our own backyard.
Yes. So creating music that included a ton of dissonance was kind of crazy at the time. And that was kind of what Monteverdi was doing. So he actually got roasted for it publicly. This is some tea too. This guy.
Well, I mean, if the church just said no music and he's making music, I mean.
Well, they didn't say no music. They were just like, they pulled all of the instruments out of church, and then they were kind of like, we want it to be more holy. And so he was doing secular music as well. So like, I guess one thing that I want to say is that he wasn't like this big like rebel, but he was using certain musical styles that weren't as common for a lot of the other people of his time. So yeah, so much so that he actually got roasted for it. Like I said, this guy G.M. Artusil was this music scholar that published this commentary of, I guess at the time it was modern music, not so much anymore, but for him it was a commentary on modern music, and he called out Monteverdi specifically. I'm just gonna say what he said because it's like,
Wait, can I say it?
You can say it.
Okay. All right. This is Artusil. This is exactly how he said it in history.
In history, yes.
Such composers, in my opinion, have nothing but smoke in their heads if they are so impressed with themselves as to think they can corrupt, abolish, and ruin the good old rules handed down from days of old. We have reached the point of absurdity, but it is altogether impossible that these modern composers will find a way to turn dissonance into consonance and vice versa. For such composers, it is enough to set up a great roar of sound and absurd confusion and array of defects.
So, it wasn't
harsh.
Like, it was, yeah. It was like not nice. So yeah, so people were not like super into it. But I think that kind of what he was doing with his like dissonance is that he was really using it as this dramatic tool. So, like I said at the very beginning, he was kind of the first one to make like a super, super big masterpiece when it comes to opera. We had like a couple people there was like maybe one or two operas that came before him that he would have used to influence his writing, but he's kind of regarded as like the first person to turn it into like an actual like artistic piece of musical art. So in some ways, I'd say he's also kind of the daddy of musical theater.
Daddy.
Oh gosh, I think when I wrote that, I was like, this is so good, and then I was like, maybe it's not, but maybe it is,
Daddy of musical theater. I like it. Daddy.
Oh gosh, I feel like there's a few daddies, I feel like there's more than one, but he's maybe the first. Okay, so let's talk about L'Orfeo. I think that's how you're pronouncing it, but this is like the first opera. This kind of brings us to his first big opera. One of the earliest operas really ever. And it was staged in 1607. So part of this, the reason that he did it, going back to the Duke, he and the Duke are buddies. But the Duke's son was seeing that all these other a few other Italian cities were putting on these little story things set to music that seemed really cute and fun and sweet. And he was like, Dad, we got to do this. Daddy, please. And so then they commissioned Monteverdi, and
except
he writes it.
Italian.
It's so Papa. B.
Canceled.
Um,
Papi.
so yeah, so L'Orfeo, it's based on Orpheus, Eurydice, and instant hit. Audiences love it. So
So Hades Town.
essentially, yeah, it's just the first Hades Town.
Wait, that's awesome. I want to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. So I
Did
mean, and
Reeve
it's interesting.
Carney also?
I think he did actually.
He starred in it. That's awesome. Love him.
But yeah, so a few things that are kind of special about this performance. There are, like I said, there's a few other historical examples of opera, so it's not necessarily the first person to ever do it. But it is agreed that this is the first operatic masterpiece. So what Monteverdi does here, it's different, is that he really makes it an art form. So he, like we said, he really leaned into kind of like the dissonance and really used a bunch of techniques to kind of tell a story through the music and the orchestrations in a way that maybe audiences hadn't necessarily seen before. So there's some examples where there's like underworld scenes that would utilize like darker brass instruments, whereas like some of the more pastoral scenes would use like the recorder and strings. So kind of, like what like movie composers would maybe do nowadays. It was kind of a masterclass in writing music that used and utilizes dramatic context. So his philosophy when writing opera was to make the text drive the music rather than the other way around. And I think this philosophy is similar to like, some of the essays and writings that we see of like Sondheim. Like I think that's a big thing that Sondheim really thought was important, that like the text should drive the music, and like the drama of it should really influence like what's happening in the music. So I think, there was kind of some similarities that I noticed while I was looking into it that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that is. Because also Sondheim has a big emphasis on like the way the words sound and like the scansion, the syllables, the vowels and consonants. And I feel like that it feels more important when you're doing a Sondheim piece than like the notes themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I feel like the text becomes like very important, because I feel like you read some of what he talks about, like from a composer standpoint, he puts a lot of stress on like making sure that like if the notes go up, it is going up similar to like how it would in the cadence of someone talking, So I think he was very aware of what he was doing in terms of his like text and music, which I thought is kind of cool. Monteverdi. 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 But anyway, was really into finding new musical styles, techniques too. I think this comes to like the trying to tell the story through the music. He was actually the first composer, fun fact, known to use tremolo and pizzicato strings to actually notate that. So I thought that was cool.
Wow.
Fun little fact.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So the little thing that we get in the music, it's a little squiggly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the first, he would use it for like some of the strings, and then he used like pizzicato for the strings to kind of like, get some of those. I do think it is interesting. Another moment of like speculation where like you wonder what the first rehearsal was, where it's like none of these musicians had ever seen that in a score, and he was just like,
Right.
that like joke thing that you sometimes do where you like, pluck the string like it's like a guitar or something, like an idiot. Like, let's do that for real. Like,
yeah, that joke we all do every day when we're playing violin.
Yeah, he's like,
totally.
or like even like the tremolo, where it's like, I feel like at sometimes you kind of joke, you're just like, and he's like, let's do that for real.
Which I'm laughing because I don't know if a lot of people relate to that. You guys,
Like,
when you're at orchestra rehearsal and like you're pretending to do a tremolo, but it's just a joke. I know. I
Oh
know what you mean,
gosh.
though. I know what you mean. They probably were like, I'm wondering if he just set the score down in front of them and they saw it and they like came to it and were like,
do
what?
you think they were like already doing it and he was just like the first person to be like, oh, I'm putting it in the music? Or if it was just like, actually, he was like, hey, do this. You might
I
seem
bet
weird,
it was
but
the
like,
first.
probably.
I bet it was the first chair violinist. I bet she like did something crazy and he was like, do that again, you know?
Yeah, but it would never be a woman.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. It could have been.
No, I'm
It
just
could
kidding.
have been.
No, you probably wasn't. I was thinking of my amazing college
just
roommate
feel like-
who was first chair.
I know. They're just
Belmont
like
Orchestra.
it's still a very sexist time. They
Very
still hate
true.
women. They're like, women? Ugh.
Sure. Well, same.
What do we do with
Honestly.
them?
They couldn't do a tremolo.
Oh,
But
see,
okay,
you know,
so
when we were talking about like, oh, we could
What?
get canceled. I think that was our first opportunity right there.
I feel unsafe right now in this podcast.
Oh no, I have created an unsafe space.
I'm just kidding, Mitch.
I feel
You're the
better now.
best.
Well,
No, don't feel bad. I'm just joking. But anywho, you're probably right. I'm sure there wouldn't have been a woman first chair, especially.
yeah, I don't know,
But-
because I don't know when they were like, because there's definitely some female composers, and there were some there were probably some instrumentalists. I think there were probably out.
Yeah.
I think it's like I do know that like in the church with like the Counter Reformation and all of that, like there were no women allowed in the choirs. So it was all like it was boys and men. So like all of the sopranos and altos were like young boys.
Right.
And that's actually why, like, we'll get into it later, but that's why like the castrati became like a big thing, was because women weren't allowed to sing, so they couldn't have any sopranos or altos for like some of these songs that were becoming harder and harder. So they had like more castrati to like help fill in for, you know, the sopranos and altos for all the choirs and things, because they also weren't allowed to have any instruments. So it was only the only thing they could have was like organ and choir music. So but
Interesting. Well, it's probably why the music was more boring back then.
and it was
No
yeah.
girls.
No girls. What are you gonna
And it
do?
was- Yeah,
You gotta
tough.
have both, you know.
Tough.
You gotta have both. Um,
I feel like when what's his face? The guy we're talking about, Monteverdi.
Claudio.
No.
Claudio.
Claudio. I feel like when Claudio was like wanting tremolo, he was probably like having a hard time coming up with the words. You know what I mean? He's probably like, I want it. It's like a string, but it's like
It's like it almost like it's interesting because
like
we should have done is
trembling.
we should have looked up what tremolo means.
I think it means to tremble. I tremble,
probably,
right?
Probably.
Is the first person, I believe. I might be totally wrong, but that's how it is
I
in
don't know.
Latin.
Maybe, but it almost does sound like the sound of it. He's almost like
Yeah.
It's what it sounds like. Tremolo.
He's like, you're
Tremolo.
trembling. Yeah.
Tremolo.
Exactly. I'm
Exactly.
sure that's exactly how he said it.
I think so.
That's why it's just squiggles.
Yeah, it's just squiggles. It was actually, it was tremolo.
Yeah. Well, and
But-
now we have our notation, our standard notation today.
For tremolo. But I guess that brings us to our segment that we're trying to do for every episode. I think my favorite segment. I was actually talking to Emily, and she came up with the idea of wed, bed, behead.
Wed, bed, behead.
So
That's awesome.
I think
love it.
that's maybe what we should kind of be calling it.
Yeah. Agreed.
So my three, wed, head, behead, Wed bed,
Mhm.
behead. Um,
Wed head be bed.
wed bed, he had. Yep,
Head wed be bed.
wed bed. Let's see. What would I do? What would I say?
So this is Kiss, Marry, Kill, in case
It is
anyone's
just in case
wondering.
anyone was confused. Let's see. My three for you, I would say. I'm just gonna go with what I came up with first. Claudio, opera, pizzicato.
Pizzicato, like the strings.
Yes, like pluk 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 pluk. That's what it sounds like.
Well, it seems like Claudio's the only bed option for me.
You
Being
don't
the
want to
only
bed opera?
human.
You don't want to go to bed with opera? Take opera to
I'd
bed?
go, you know, keep paraphrasing. When I go to bed.
You want to go to bed?
Actually, I'd wed Claudio. He seems cool. He seems
He
romantic.
seems like a good guy. He took on the ex-mistress, you know. He was like, I'll take one for the team."
I mean, maybe she was awesome and it
That's
wasn't
true.
taking one for the team. But also, yeah, I'll wed opera. I'm sorry. I'm indecisive. Okay, here's my official. I'm
Official.
wedding opera. Okay. I love opera.
Okay.
I would love to get a real opera coach someday. If anyone out there's listening and you teach opera, message me.
All of our listeners.
If any one single human is out there.
All
if
of
any
our
of our
listener.
listener are opera teacher, then hit me up. And then I would bed the pizzicato.
And you would
Sexy.
behead Claudio.
Claudio's gone, yeah.
You just
Sorry,
bedded
Claudio.
opera and killed the man who started opera.
Nay, I wedded opera.
Oh, you wedded opera and you beheaded the
bedded-
man.
Who created it? Yeah. Because it's created now. I don't need
Well, no,
him.
I thought you said you beheaded. You beheaded him. You
Yeah, I did.
beheaded him.
I beheaded him.
Okay.
And I wedded pizzicato strings, because why not?
Why not? Fair.
All right. My three for you are the Duke, Claudio, and the mistress.
Gosh.
No, wait. The Duke, the mistress, and Tremolo. Strings.
Okay, so we're doing like
forget
we're
Claudio.
doing
I
a
already
we're
had
doing a
Claudio.
similar. You already had Claudio. I don't know. I don't have a picture of the Duke. I have no idea what he looks like.
Let's just assume he was hot, okay?
Oh gosh. I do feel like, you know, me and Claudia could make a wonderful life together, and she seems like
Yeah.
she seems chill.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe bed the Duke.
Okay. You're gonna kill Tremolo?
Wed Claudia and kill Tremolo. Yeah.
You don't like Tremolo?
I do love a good tremolo, but like I don't feel like it's as different as of a note. Like it's not as different as a technique like pizzicato strings. Without pizzicato, I'd be like, whoa, that'd be a tough one to recover from. Tremolo, like honestly, sometimes a tremolo string and just like a quiet string kind of sound the same.
Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion.
All right. That's fair. I feel like tremolo builds more suspense. That's why I feel like it'd be good in bed.
Oh, that's true. It would be good
You
in
know
bed.
what I mean?
Okay, I take it back. I'll bed tremolo, and I guess I have to behead the Duke. I guess. But he's got the
had some
money.
mistresses.
He's got the money though.
Well,
if I'm wedded
you
to
can
the
take
Duke.
his money. Well, you kill him and then you take his money.
Okay, that's true. Behead the Duke and take his money and take over.
I feel like I fully just manipulated you into doing the three that I would pick.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
I'm like, you sure about that?
You sure about that?
You
Wait,
sure
what, is
about
that?
To quote Tim,
well,
the great Tim Robinson.
the great Tim Robinson. But anyway, Well, thank you everyone for listening to Mostly True, a history podcast from New Spark Entertainment. I'm your host, Mitch Beard.
And I'm your guest, Laney Gold.
And
co-host.
co-host. Today's episode was edited by me. Research sources are included in the show notes, actually, so be sure to check out the show notes for those. And also be sure to check out our other episodes and join us next week as we continue diving into the Baroque Era. Who we're talking about next week? If it ain't Baroque,
fix it.
Don't fix it. That age-old joke that Laney is probably going to be telling for the next, however many weeks.
Thanks, Dr. Bridges from Belmont.
The best. Anywho, yeah. So who are we talking about next week? Oh, she didn't have her show notes open. She did not have...
I forgot my line. Oh, gosh. Could it be Vivaldi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What's his deal? Why is he obsessed with the seasons?
Yes, sir was in the script. I just want everyone to know that.
I did script that moment for myself.
And it has 2 S's. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So we'll talk about that next week. Be sure to join us. See you next week.